To change the common door handle failure on these Jeep Grand Cherokees, you're going to need to first start by removing 3 screws from the door handle, one located inside the handle, one on the front side of the door, and then inside of where the sort of interior handle pocket is, you'll need to remove a piece of rubber, which will give you access to the last screw needed to remove. From here, you can locate on the bottom of the door the little indentation where you can stick a large flat blade screwdriver and gently pry all the way around the door. You want to be careful not to bend too far and damage or cause any damage to the door itself. Then from there, you can kind of work it around with your hands. There's little clips all the way around the door, and there's going to be one clip around the triangle. Just be careful not to cause any damage and take your time. I was very lucky enough not to damage any of the clips, and these seem to be a fairly good design, so it might not hurt to have 1 or 2 on hand, but more than likely you'll probably be okay. From here, you can go ahead and open up the door and look inside. You'll need to start unclipping the wiring harnesses so you can pull the entire door handle off. So you can start by just squeezing the little wire harnesses. You'll see one edge of it has a small squeeze mark in it. Just start squeezing and unrouting it. More than likely, when you pull the wires out from where the handle's located, all those little clips are going to break off, but you're going to replace that whole piece anyways, so it's nothing to be too concerned about. Just for the rest of the clips outside of the door handle, you'll want to be careful not to cause any damage to those. So continue to remove those until you can completely remove the door away from the wiring harness. In my case, the door handle was still attached to the door arm, so just push against that green piece and then you can pop it right out and pop it off. Initially, I started to try to remove the handle with a straight razor and pulling these little rivets off. However, you're just going to replace the door handle anyways, so you can just go ahead and just take a screwdriver and honestly break the entire handle right off. That way you have easier access to these little rivets to get them off. With the door handle off, you can go ahead and remove these little rivet heads with a straight razor. You're going to want to make sure you leave as much meat on the stub as possible, as you need to ensure that the screws will catch inside of those little raised posts on the door, as you can see in this picture here. So be careful to leave yourself plenty of space. At this point you can go ahead and place the door handle back on the door and slide it all over the little studs. From here you can get ready and start to install your hardware. So you can gather your screws and your washers and install the screws with the washer on those studs, and that's what holds the door handle to the door. When you're done, make sure you give the handle a couple of quick pulls just to ensure that it's snugly attached to the door and there's no shakiness and that it's firmly secured. From here, it's just reverse of disassembly. You'll need to reinstall the wiring harness, making sure you route it back into its original position through the different clips and around the door handle, and then re-clipping all of the connectors back in their appropriate spots. None of these connectors can really fit in each other's slots, so you don't have to worry about making sure that it's in the correct slot. Just it will put it in the one that it will fit in. This is one of the more challenging parts of the job. You'll need to reinstall the curved rod back into that little green clip. So you'll need to push it in, swing that green clip around, and then wrap it around that clip. You'll need to do this as close as you can without the door because you don't want to bend that rod and damage that. So just be careful and work as closely as you can. It's tight quarters. I know it's hard to see, but you'll have to work it out and fiddle it. And then once you're done, you can reinstall the door. Another important thing is when you're reinstalling the door is making sure the top of the door is above the inner piece of the weather stripping. So take note of that and make sure that it's all the way in before reinstalling. Once it's hinged over the top, you can go ahead and push the clips back into place and give it a nice good bang and make sure that the clips are seated. You'll hear them clip into place. Lastly, you can go ahead and reinstall your screws. If you're having trouble getting them in, you can use a flashlight to help guide you and see where the holes are, and you can move the door around to make it work.